Well, welcome everybody to our ASB annual business meeting. I hope you had as much fun as I had with all the wonderful science that was presented all week. There's some really great stuff, keynotes, the Borelli Awards, the presentations, the posters, my goodness, really good stuff. I'm so energized actually just to go into the lab and just like start like running experiments and stuff like that. It's just so awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. We got some things to share with you. So next slide. So the first I'm going to start with like a short report for me. I'm just really happy, I guess, or honored to be the first and only one virtual president of the society, since I'm squeezed between two virtual meetings. Virtually, I became the president, and virtually, I'm going to become a past president. So that will help my longevity in the memories of the members of the society, for sure. As I'm moving into the position of the past president, I want to thank first Liz and Michelle, our new president and our past president, for their tremendous amount of help and support this year, and also the entire executive board. They are troopers. They are absolutely amazing. I also want to thank Alina, Yang He, and everybody who was involved in the organization of the virtual meeting. Let us not forget that this was the second virtual meeting that they actually organized, okay? If that is not a record, I don't know what is a record. So that is truly amazing as well too. Lastly, I want to ask all of you to support the ASB regional meetings, who they are coming up either the next few months or just during the entire year. They are also helping us immensely to spread the word around and propagate actually the name of biomechanics. Same holds true for National Biomechanics Day. If you're not already supporting National Biomechanics Day, just make 100% sure that you put it into your routine and into everything that you're doing. Next slide. So just like few things I want to mention, kind of like maybe a summary, but not really a summary, it's more highlights. And these things is actually several of the executive board members, they're gonna talk to them a little bit more extensively. So what we did this year, because it was a COVID year and a virtual year, we tried to stay a little bit closer together. And the only way to do so, it was to do more Zoom meetings. So we had actually Zoom meetings every month. I had Zoom meetings every month with every single member of the executive board to just make 100% sure that we are on top of our initiatives and the things that we were doing. My overall focus during the entire year was to find like ways to enhance practically what you get out of your membership fees to enhance actually the services that you get. And the number one thing to do so and to enhance the capabilities of the society, since I was a president-elect, was to identify a company that will actually take over the management of the society. After interviewing several companies and speaking with several people, we came down to hire Podium. And now that Podium is on board, is impacting practically every aspect of what we are doing in terms of the society. Communication more than anything else, but pretty much everything. Like, for example, like today's PowerPoint presentation, it was put together by them, and I'm practically saying next slide to someone from Podium, Julia, actually, who is advancing the slides. It was such a nightmare what we had to do before, actually, and how much hustle we had to go through everything that we were doing. Now we can focus more on what we really want to do as members of the executive board. Several other things that I just want to highlight. We have a new formal position for an awards chair. That is Missy, and she's doing a phenomenal work. That is a new position, who also takes a lot of the burden away from the past president. We did an immense amount of work in terms of our student chapters. In terms of what the student chapters are doing, and both in terms of propagating the name of biomechanics and community engagement. And even our phenomenal student rep is going to tell you many, many more things about it. And also the fact that we are working on a national mentoring network. The mentoring that we do during the meeting, we plan to expand it over the year round, to have it available year round, in order for our members to be able to reach out to more experienced people and get advice. We partner with the American Institute of Biological and Medical Engineers. Kate made that happen. A phenomenal person as well too on the executive board. Kate is, every time we hit a problem, Kate will have the solution pretty much. So, we hooked up with them to enhance our capabilities in terms of influencing policymaking and our involvement in Washington. Ajit worked so hard in terms of the full implementation of the code of conduct. He did like an immense amount of work with that, and his committee. He even got us to get like some sponsoring actually money to support the diversity initiatives. But there is so much more work that has been done. Bill with the newsletter. Michelle did so much work with the logo and the branding and this and that. I mean, everybody did like so much work, and I just included just some highlights here. They will actually explain a few more things actually as we go through the rest of the reports. Again, thank you all very much for attending the business meeting of our virtual meeting. And I'm gonna pass the baton to, I think, to Michelle, which is like right after me. So next slide.
Thanks, Nick. So yeah, I want to just give you a quick update on the branding and identity that Nick just mentioned. So one of the things I've been working on as past president is partnering with our podium support folks and coming up with some ways that we can basically formalize a little bit our branding and identity. And so many of you may have participated in a survey earlier this year with some possible new logos. And after lots of different versions of logos and working with our connection Bronwyn at Podium, we've come up with the new ASB logo that's in the top left of the slide here. So I know many of us are a little bit nostalgic about the old logos, but if you see here, even just from these four that I had on my hard drive from the time when I was a newsletter editor, you can see that we have had no consistency across the years of color or size or how the logo was used. And so one of the things that we wanted to address with the new logo and branding is making sure that sort of the flavor of what we do in the American Society of Biomechanics would at least be somewhat reflected in the logo, and then it would be clean and easy to read. And so we had gotten feedback that while we recognize that the logo says ASB, it's not always clear to people who are not part of our organization, if they see that on a t-shirt or a letterhead, what that is. So our new version is a little bit cleaner, and I think still retains some of the elements of our identity that goes back to our founding in 1977. Next slide, please. So the new brand, we've got a couple different logos, horizontal and vertical, and we are working on an entire set of branding, a branding guide and logos that will go for some of our subunits. So for example, we will have going forward, the ASB fellows will have a logo, the student chapters will have logos, and that have a little bit of ability for them to customize for their individual institution, but that also sort of follow the branding of the American Society of Biomechanics, as well as regional meetings, et cetera. And we'll be using this branding on the website, on our communications, like the new blog version of the newsletter, and our social media campaigns, et cetera. So keep an eye out for this. And I appreciate everyone who provided me comments. I will say that we had comments ranging from everything from keep the old logo, we love it, to we hate the old logo, we want anything new, and everything in between. But people provided some really actionable feedback that we use to update this current version of the logo. Next slide, please. Now, one of the fun things that the past president gets to do is work on not only supporting the elections for the society, but also the process of electing new ASB fellows. So I'm so pleased to be able to welcome these 5 new ASB fellows as of this year. They actually had the opportunity to attend the fellows breakfast earlier this week, but I'd like to officially once again recognize Sylvia Blemker, Glenn Fleissig, Zongming Lee, Michael Madigan, and Robin Queen. Congratulations to all of you. You'll be a great addition to the already very prestigious group of fellows. Next slide. Yeah, and in addition, we are welcoming now some new ASB board members. This is the time of year when old board members rotate off, and we welcome our new members onto the board. So I'm very pleased also to welcome Rocky Cham as president-elect, Ross Miller as program chair-elect, Anna Ibrahimi as secretary, and Maria Pasquale as treasurer-elect. And I want to thank everyone who participated in the election, everybody who ran for the different positions. We appreciate your service for running, and we very much look forward to welcoming these new members onto the executive board. Next slide. And last but not least, in terms of the elections, we also picked a nominating committee. The nominating committee works with the past president. So these 2 members of the nominating committee will work with Nick next year on populating a slate for all of the elections. So congratulations and welcome to Peter Fino and Matt McCullough. Next slide. All right, with that, I'll pass it on to Missy to give you an update on the awards.
Hello, everybody. We will start by honoring the wonderful award talks and awardees that we saw this week. So I want to thank and honor again Glenn Fleissig as our Borelli Award winner. He gave a fantastic talk this week. Thank you so much, Glenn. Next slide. Peter Wayan gave a really fascinating talk as well with his colleague in the Jim Hay Memorial Award. Congratulations. Next slide. Heard from Karen Troy about her amazing research and her advice and mentoring for the Founders Award. Congrats, Karen. We heard from Jerry Wu, a very inspirational story about his work in diversity mentorship in biomechanics. Congratulations, Jerry. Next slide. And we got to hear from our pre-doctoral and early career achievement award winners on Thursday, which is Katie Knaus and Aaron Manning. Congratulations. And we didn't hear from Brittany, but if you were unaware, Brittany Hines-Walters won the Junior Faculty Research Award, which provides research support dollars for a project that she submitted. And a project was called Design and Evaluation of a Soft Robot for Hand Rehabilitation. And we look forward to hearing from Brittany at a future meeting to hear about the research she performed with this award. Congrats, Brittany. And oh, sorry for the misalignment here, cutting off Hugo's name, but we want to congratulate winners of a new award, the Up and Comer Award, which was new this year and sponsored by the ASB Council of Fellows. And this award is fostering, mentoring, and networking of either postdocs or early career faculty with current ASB fellows. And so we congratulate Deba Manny, Brooke Odell, and Hugo Giambini to being our inaugural winners of the Up and Comer Award. Congrats. Next slide. We had many ASB Travel Award winners, which there was no travel, but folks receive their registration costs covered and other sort of perks of receiving this award this year. Thanks for still applying, and we look forward to being able to award this for actual travel next year. Next slide. Okay, so these awards are the ones you don't know about, and so I'll be announcing many awards that were just determined over the past couple of days. So next slide. The first is the Journal Biomechanics Award winner. You can advance. And that goes to Callum Funk and his team, where they were exploring the functional boundaries and metabolisms of triceps force link relations during walking. Congratulations, Callum. It was a really, really wonderful talk. Next slide. And the Clinical Biomechanics Award winner, you can advance. Congratulations to Anna Ibrahimi and team, who presented on the redistribution of muscular work by children with cerebral palsy walking in crowds. Congratulations, Anna. Wonderful, wonderful talk and exciting research. 3-minute thesis award winners. Here's our master's winners. The winner is Janelle Caneda. Honorable mention to Gaspard Diotavalevi, and the People's Choice, Gabriella Small. Congratulations, and I'll be in touch with what this means for you. And there's a cash prize with this, so I'm sure you will welcome that email as I ask for your address, so please respond. Next slide. The doctoral winners. Winner goes to Justin Scott, honorable mention, Micah Garcia, and People's Choice, we had a tie between Kayla Parisser and Ava Maddox. Next slide. So the President's Award is chosen by the current president, Nick Sturgio, and he was judging that from all of the posters at the entire conference. And so you can advance and reveal that the award goes to Kevin Dames and his team, and it's titled, Quiet Running Promotes Sustained Reduction in Ground Reaction Force. Congratulations, Kevin and team. And I really want to thank all of the award committee members. It's a big lift, and it was even later in the schedule this year. So I know everybody had to pull it together and get really quick reviews in for me. And I just really appreciate your time, and just thanks for making it all possible. Next slide. So next year, a few notes. With NACOB having earlier deadlines for submission of their abstracts, this is just a heads up that there'll be some earlier award deadlines, and that information will all be communicated to you through the monthly email blasts. Also, this is my last year as awards chair coming up, and so I'll be looking for naming the next awards chair and bringing them on to help this year to learn the ropes through the process and to help make even more improvements in the process. Thank you all so much. You can advance, and that's it. Thanks. On to Jill.
Thank you, Missy. Congrats to all the award winners. That's a banner slate you've got there. So if you would advance, please. I am your current treasurer, and I wanted to provide a quick report. Since last year, we continue to maintain a healthy balance. There have been some startup expenses associated with the transition to Podium as our society secretariat, but this will allow other service charges to be discontinued. So we expect this to balance out in the short term here. As Nick noted, we received a generous grant from Nike to support our efforts in diversity and equity and inclusion, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. Our long-term investments continue to perform well, and overall, our net worth is sitting at about $450K. Next slide, please. On the left, we see only the transactions since January, but in a nutshell, what you're seeing is that the revenues are exceeding the expenses. So in general, that's a good story. Next, please. But on the right, what's not included here is the awards that Missy just mentioned. I'm about to write a whole bunch of checks. And so these are expected to add up to about $27,000 this year, in part because this is a little less than last year because we didn't have so many regional meetings this year. Next, please. So in summary, the financial health of the society is excellent. We've received overall about $3,000 in member donations since last year at this time. We've accepted this big $50,000 gift from Nike, and we expect to provide about $27,000 back to you in awards. So thank you again for your continued support. And Kate is up next.
Before Kate, I do want to mention something about Jill. I don't know if you know that, but other societies during the COVID years were bleeding. Not only they had revenues, they had major losses. So Jill was able to navigate us through this really rough waters. And as you see, we are doing very well. So I don't know, but I think every member of the society should send a thank you email to Jill actually for her hard work on that. That's very, very important. And I think I was like talking to her like since the very first day that I became a president. Jill, we have to be frugal. We have to be frugal. We have to be frugal. Anyway, so I do want to mention that that about Jill. Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Nick.
Kate.
All right. Thank you, Jill. Thanks, Nick. All right, everybody. I am giving my last report as secretary on the state of the membership of the society. Before I report on the numbers, I just wanted to recap a couple things that we've been working on this year. The first is that we've been using the membership database to more formally record participation records of everyone's contributions, everybody on committees, and of course the records of the fellows and the executive board, so that we have that historical data, and that really helps us to identify up-and-comers who are participating and contributing so much to the society and can be a part of the leadership. We've also formalized our onboarding for new members and our roles and our legal and logistical responsibilities. That'll help us smooth out the historical memory as we bring on new boards, and we're deploying that this year. As Nick mentioned, we've joined the AIMBE Council of Societies that will help us increase our science advocacy, and we're coordinating with Podium on streamlining the membership and communications processes, and we'll be moving the membership database under Podium's auspices soon. And I'm looking forward to handing this off to Anna Ibrahimi, who is going to do a great job and will be in great hands under her. So to just recap the membership data, this year we have, as of earlier this month, 888 total members, of which 540 are regular and 335 are student members. Next slide. So we've been holding steady over the last few years. When we look at our member breakdown, about 38% are student members and 61% are regular members. And you can see how our primary discipline affiliation lines up. About 50% are, 46% are engineering and applied physics, 26% exercise and sports science, 20% health sciences, 4% biological sciences, and 4% is ergonomics and human factors. Those are our primary affiliations, but I encourage everyone to note their secondary and third level and fourth level, as many of the disciplines as you like to. In the membership database, you're able to select other disciplines as well, because I'm sure, like many of us, we have more than one of these areas that we fall into. Next slide, please. I'd also like to share our demographic information. So by race, we are 14.8% Asian members, 3.6% Black or African American, about 0.5% Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander, and then the balance are white Caucasian and other don't wish to answer. In terms of ethnicity, we are almost 6% Hispanic, and the balance not Hispanic or don't wish to answer. About 1.2% of our members have a disability that they're self-reported, and the balance do not or do not wish to answer. And is there one I missed? Yes, by sex. Sorry about that. 42% are women and 57% are men, and the balance don't wish to answer, and no other options that were available were selected. That is the report out on our membership in the society, and I appreciate serving all of you for the last several years. Thanks. I'll pass it off to Lewis.
Sorry, I was muted. Thanks, Kate. So I'm just going to speak quickly on two of the big things that the Education Committee is responsible for. The first is regional meetings. So over this past year, our regional meetings took a big hit. We did have several meetings held in a virtual format and a couple in person. All but one of those were really from years past that they had to postpone from when COVID initially was onset. So I'm really hoping this year for a much bigger turnout of regional meetings. Please come, winter time, check the ASB website for if there are meetings happening near you. Usually they're in the spring, but actually we do have one in the Midwest that is being held next month. So if you're in the Midwest and interested in a regional meeting, check that out on our website. It is a great place for students to present, practicing presentations, all of that good stuff, and to meet fellow researchers that are nearby. And it costs a heck of a lot less to travel to. So speaking of this next coming year, it'd be great if we could have a record number of regional meetings. So please, if you're interested or thinking about it, there's details on the website for how to host. The applications are due to me via email by September 30th, and ASB supports up to $2,000 for that. So next slide. The other big thing, and clearly I can't copy and paste correctly, the title here should talk about our Graduate Student Grant and Aid Awards. The other big thing that we do is review and award those. The GIA applications are due January 15th, and these support ASB student members pursuing biomechanics research. Normally we award 5 $2,000 grants. Just if you're interested in that, or your student is interested in that, make sure that they renew their membership, and the advisor also renews their membership early, because that is a qualification you must have, both being members. And I'd like to congratulate this year's GIA awardees. We had Elizabeth Bell, Margaret Coates Thomas, John Davis, Kelly Halloran, and David Ortiz Weisberg. So congratulations to those 5 awardees. And next. So really quick, before I pass it on, I forgot to add this, but this is going to be my final year on the board as the education chair. If you have any interest in serving on the executive committee and think that education might be where it's at, please send me an email and I can talk to you about the responsibilities and whether you're interested. And also, if you're interested in serving on the next education committee, once I roll off, I'd be happy to take your name down for the next committee chair as well. So with that, I will welcome Ajit.
Thanks, Lou. So I'll go through these really quickly. We had a busy year in the diversity committee. We expanded the committee and we created subcommittees. We now have a Slack channel. If anybody else is interested in being involved with the diversity committee's activities, I welcome you to join the ASB Diversity Slack channel or email me. We expanded and fully implemented the code of conduct, including adding an investigation policy, awards and honors policy, and disclosure policies. And that was actually through largely facilitated by a new membership that our society has in the Society's Consortium on Sexual Harassment in STEM. Lots of great tools that we were able to use. We also now have an anonymous reporting system at asbweb.ethicspoint.com that can be used for anonymous or non-anonymous reporting. So, please use that if you need it. That's what it's there for. We had the travel awards that Missy already mentioned. We had a diversity panel advocating for change in your environment. And thank you to Nelson Glover for moderating that. And then we had our Women in Science session last night on the impact of COVID-19 on women in academia. And we had to press several society members into service as facilitators kind of last minute. So I want to call them all out for doing such a great job last night. That's Robin Queen, Stacy Ringleb, Mary Rogers, Michelle Sabick, Jill McNitt-Gray, Karma Fouché, Deanna Schmidt, and Joan Bechtold. So thanks to all of you. We had the Black Biomechanics Association workshop, how to be a culturally competent mentor. And that was just the beginning. They have lots more activities, as do all the other affinity groups. There were socials, there were roundtables, there were many, many things during the meeting, and they are doing an amazing job of having activities throughout the year. It makes it a lot easier for the diversity committee to just have people doing things that are really supporting that mission, and that's wonderful. And we want to encourage all of you who are in affinity groups to do that. If you'd like to form an affinity group, please do that. So in 2022, we have a couple of goals, and these are actually things we're planning to do with the generous contribution from Nike, we are planning to establish an ASB-funded undergraduate summer internship program for next summer. And we're planning to develop a grant program to support organizations that are advancing DEI-related goals in biomechanics. So both of those, we have to come up with the exact application process, but we're going to do that soon. So be on the lookout for that. And then a third thing that we actually have started thinking about as a goal, based on our conversations last night, is actually an ASB COVID impact statement, basically to help all of us understand what the effects of impacts of COVID have been on biomechanists nationwide and worldwide. Next slide, please. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to turn it over to Young Hee.
Great, thank you, Ajit. I think we can go to the next slide. And I think the main thing I wanted to do first is just thank a bunch of people. First and foremost, our local Georgia Tech organizing committee. I'm not sure what a local committee means anymore when we're online like this, but the folks on here, Greg, Owen, Boris, Lena, and Aaron were involved with planning from 2018. So it's been years since we've been thinking about conference planning. And I appreciate all of the work that they did, a lot of which you never even got to see. So I appreciate them very much. Special thanks to some of the volunteers this year, in particular, Jenny Liesma, who did the conference website, pretty much everything on the website. Chase Rock, who designed all the cool logos for both conferences. Angela Luo and Catherine Yang are responsible for all these cool Zoom backgrounds that we're using, and also the conference gear that you can buy on Cafe Press. They set up that shop for us. I'd also like to throw a shout out to Podium as well, and Julia in particular, and her staff that have been supporting a lot of our efforts. They really ramped up their contributions this year in particular, and I appreciate everything they did for us. And I think we're in good hands going forward. So it's been a really good experience with them. And finally, I'd like to thank some of the folks local at Georgia Tech who have been really helping out with some really important issues lingering from last year. So I won't get into the details, but we still have quite a bit of liability that we're working out from past contracts. And so the Georgia Tech legal office, even the state attorney general's office has gotten involved, and we are working through that. It's looking optimistic, I'll say, and we'll just see how that turns out, hopefully sooner rather than later. And finally, Deanna Walker has been providing a lot of great administrative support for us over the last couple of years. I also wanted to quickly thank, that's fine, but I quickly wanted to thank all the session organizers, moderators, attendees, everyone. It's really been a great conference. As an attendee personally, I've enjoyed it. It's run smoothly in large part for all of those folks. I know Alina's going to thank her own committee, but I'd really like to thank Alina, my partner in crime as the program chair. I think, again, with this weird virtual format, the lines get blurred between program and local committee, and they really stepped up and did a lot that probably than past program committees have for in-person meetings. I'd like to also call out somebody from the program committee, Rumit Kakar, who's again a second timer. He was on this committee, program committee last year, but he really worked a lot with me on Crowd Compass and doing the programmatic side, and led a lot of the efforts to do the painstaking stuff. If you were able to do any kind of search on Crowd Compass, it's largely in part due to Rumit. So thank you very much for that, Rumit. Okay, so some conference statistics here. We had a total of 790 registrants. That includes sponsors and their representatives from the different companies that attended. 12 conference sponsors, and thank you again to all of those sponsors for supporting everything that we're trying to do. That left 766 attendees, about split almost perfectly in half between students and non-students, and you can see the breakdown there in terms of the numbers. And again, I think one of the really cool features of a virtual conference is that we had 14 countries represented. And I spoke with some folks who were literally dialing in at 3 a.m. To present their poster. And so I think it's a really neat part of the meeting that we may not have been able to have in an in-person setting. So I hope some of the good things that we take from the last 2 years can be carried forward to improve the future meetings that we have. And in closing, just a couple of logistical things. The conference survey is up, so please go ahead and if you can, go to Crowd Compass. There's a link on the left, navigations icons on the left side. You can just click on that and complete it right there. It should take a few minutes. It really helps for the future conference planners. I'm checking on this, but I believe we will have Crowd Compass and Spatial Chat available and accessible over the next week. So if you missed something, the recordings will be available, and the posters I think should still be up if you want to go back and check and look at things. And then after this meeting, we will have the closing reception and Spatial Chat, so we can all relax and kind of gather and interact one last time before we take off until next year. So thank you again, everybody, for a great conference. I'll hand it over.
All right. Well, we did it. I want to first thank Youngie. I really appreciate the work that he's done to try to help us get this program together, help us get things online. And you can advance to the next slide, please. But first and foremost, I want to thank all of you. We wouldn't be able to have the conference without all of you participating, getting your abstracts in, getting your posters pinned, getting ready for podium presentations, all the moderators, all the abstract reviewers, the symposia organizers, the conference chair, the podium conference services. It's all those folks. And I especially want to thank my program committee. There's no way one person could do this. So it was really dependent on all of the last minute and thoughtful efforts of Elisa Arch, Craig McGowan, Jason Franz, Amy Lenz, Rumit Singh, and Jessica Getz. So thanks so much to everyone. I really appreciate it. I think we pulled it off. It worked out really well. If you could advance the next slide, please. In total this year, we had 489 abstracts submitted. And so all of those went to reviewers. They reviewed them. In the end, the program had 144 podium presentations, the 5-minute rapid podiums, 3-minute thesis competition, which was fantastic, 321 poster presentations in lots of different spatial chat rooms, and 69 of those were thematic, and I really enjoyed those sessions. I sat in on a couple of those. We had 3 tutorials, a workshop, 2 symposia, 2 amazing keynotes, many awards, and many professional development and social events that you've already heard something about. So I thought it turned out great, especially for a virtual conference. If you could advance to the next slide. In total, we had over 40 hours of programming on Zoom and spatial chat, and lots of hours of networking, affinity, research group meetings, and hopefully some interactions. Even though it was in a virtual setting, I think I really like spatial chat because you can really talk to people and get a sense for what was going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you hopefully in person next year. And Jason Franz will be taking over as program chair, and I'm really excited to see what he has in mind for NACOG. So thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I think we're on now to Evan.
Cool, thanks so much. Yep, so hi, I'm Evan, I'm the student rep. And so to get started, an update on the student body. We have fully launched the big student chapters initiative over the last year, and we're now all the way up to 9 student chapters, with the most recent addition of the University of Iowa, who actually became an official chapter last week, just before the conference got started. So congrats to them. And they've all hosted National Biomechanics Day events. And this spring, we worked to update the student body constitution to make sure that the student body is held to the same code of conduct along with the rest of the society. So thanks to Ajit, as well as all the chapter presidents that helped work on that. If you would like to start a chapter at your institution, feel free to contact me. The websites, or sorry, the emails on the screen. We also recorded our student chapter meeting, and it will be on YouTube in the near future if you would like to get some information from that. Next slide. And so then, as Nick Sergio alluded to, we are in the process of developing the National Biomechanics Mentoring Network. So keeping with this theme of mentoring being a pretty important thing throughout this conference, we're working to build a searchable database of biomechanics mentors so the members of ASB can log on, and so people looking for mentors can reach out to mentors that might be of interest to them. And the plan to do this is to include it as you renew your membership each year. You can opt in to have your information added to this mentor database. We also recognize that mentoring doesn't just sort of happen. It takes practice and effort, and there's lots of schools of thought on how to do this. So we want to make sure that we include a resource library to help first-time mentors or seasoned mentors with how they would like to do this, as well as mentees, provide resources for how to reach out and how to build and maintain that relationship. To make sure it's sort of happening in the best way possible, we're also going to provide expectations for the mentors and the mentees in this. And one of my goals is to propose 2 events a year to encourage the maintenance of these mentor-mentee relationships. We get lots of positive feedback from the annual conference match, but then expanding from there, how do we develop these relationships that move on over time? So that's the goal of that. If you have thoughts, feel free to reach out and talk to me more about it, because this is definitely still in development. We're working on building it. Next slide. So getting back to the conference, the student portion of the conference, we had a record-setting year this year with our mentor-mentee match program. We were able to match 100 mentors to 171 mentees. And we have to thank all our mentors for this. And I just thought it was a little bit interesting that a third of our mentors have been doing this for more than 5 years, while a new third have been doing this for the very first time this year. So that was really cool. And this was also our first year including postdocs as both mentees and mentors. And so far I've heard that works out great. For this program, I'd like to thank Jenny Liesma, Christian Jakubowski, and Andrew Vygotsky for helping me make sure all the matches got done and were good and didn't match people that already knew each other. We also had a student chapters meeting where 3 of our current presidents held a panel along with Paul DeVita talking about what student chapters do and have done over the last year, as well as what they could do and how they got started. So I'd like to thank Oliver Silverson from the University of Minnesota, Sarah Barron from the University of Florida, and Morgan Dahlman from our North Carolina joint chapter for sharing their experiences building chapters. We also had a fun social trivia night, round 2. And for that, I'd like to thank my awesome co-host, Dr. Katie Knaus, for helping write all those questions and plan that event. And as we said, we would do in the business meeting, the winners of trivia was the team No Bones About It. And that was the team of Kayla Seymour, Kayla Parisser, Adam Weiner, Joshua Taka, Michael Polanco, and Micah Garcia. And so you guys should look out for an email from me and Paul DeVita about your prize from trivia. And then just as a fun side note, team, please not last. Congrats, you were not last. So way to go there, guys. Excellent job. Thanks to everybody that came. I hope you all enjoyed it. And so then we're gonna go to the next slide. And so this is the other thing we held was 2 professional development events. This was over 2 days. We had 14 topics and 29 awesome hosts, all shown here because their names would just be a really long list. So there you are, there they all are. And this was really awesome of them to all volunteer their time, and they answered countless questions from over 200 students that came to participate in these events. So that's what all the students have been up to over the year and over the conference. And so if you have feedback or want to get involved, feel free to reach out to me with those thoughts or find me in spatial chat after this. I believe someone else is up next. Take it away, Don.
From the youngsters to the old guy. I'm just here on behalf of Mary Rogers to present on the cat herding that we call organizing the ASB Fellows. We just have a few things. As you heard, there's some new fellows that we've welcomed to the class. We wanted to thank Michelle for organizing that. She's really done a fantastic job putting that in. And please, if you're interested in nominating somebody, the fellows need to lead the nomination, but if you've got some ideas, we're always welcome to hear. I should acknowledge both Joan Bechtold and Mary Rogers. Mary kind of chairs the group that oversees the fellows. Joni is the vice chair, and I'm just the secretary for this. Could you advance the slides, please? The Up and Comer Award was kind of a crazy idea that came out very quickly, and I really think it turned out well, thanks to Missy Morrow, but also Kristen Jaus, Stacy Ringleb, and Liz Shaw-Wexler, who did a lot of work. I think it's a really excellent opportunity to connect up and comers with the old farts, the fellows, us. So congratulations to Dibba, Brooke, and Hugo. And we're still working on our fellows tent initiative, and this will stay tuned for this next year. Virtually, this has been a little hard to do. We've instead been working with the affinity groups, and I'll just give a shout out. I really think the affinity groups have done a lot to add value to ASB. We've had virtual socials with the early career faculty affinity group, and both Jessica Allen and Jen Nichols have been leading that affinity group. That's worked out really well, giving the fellows an opportunity to get connected with people earlier in their careers and share some of their wisdom as well as some of their joy of this job and opportunity. So there's plenty of more opportunities with other affinity groups. I can never get in front of this group without saying to everybody, if you want to be involved in ASP, there's a place for you and you can definitely make a contribution. So find a way to contribute. That's all I had, I think. I think I'm handing off next to Dan Bennoit and NACOB.
Yes, I am here. I don't see myself on the screen. I'm not sure if folks can hear me. There we go. So in typical Canadian fashion, I am coming to you from the parking lot of a hockey rink where my daughter is playing her first game in over a year and a half. So it shows how dedicated I am to a successful event. So my name's Dan Bennoit, and along with my friend and colleague Ryan Graham at the University of Ottawa, we're going to be hosting the North American Congress of Biomechanics here in Ottawa, the nation's capital that you see there behind me. If you could advance the slide. We're doing this in collaboration with the University of Ottawa and Podium, who we've been working with actually for about 2 years, and as well as Ottawa Tourism. And what you see behind that little emblem there is the venue where we are going to be hosting this event. It is truly a world-class venue. And as you can see, it's right on the water. That's the Rideau Canal. And why am I showing you this? Well, because if you're like us here up in Canada, we haven't traveled much in a while. And I'm presenting you NACOB not only as an amazing Congress, which is going to combine two of the best societies of biomechanics in the world, but it's also an attraction. It's also a destination. So where we're located for our conference, you're going to be 5 minutes walk to your hotels, regardless of which price range you're looking for. You're going to be 5 minutes walk from zip lining across the Ottawa River, if you like. You're going to be about 10 minutes walk from doing a bit of kayaking between presentations, if you so desire. You'll be a 10 to 15 minute bike ride from the Congress Center in the middle of the forest. You can literally bike to lakes and beaches. It's that close. So Ottawa is kind of like a big city in the middle of nature. And so it really is an amazing destination. You see that flower-shaped sort of tent. That's the University of Ottawa, where we're going to be hosting some of our equity and diversity events. We've been working really closely with ASB, with Jason France in particular, and also with Evan. We pulled him into the preparations as a student representative, and we're very aware and very conscious of the ASB requirements, and we really want to make sure we do a good job of working with the ASB to ensure that we host a great event. And we're also working, of course, with the Canadian Society of Biomechanics. We know closely. And what you see in some of these images, if you just look where the totem poles are there, that's where we're going to be hosting our first evening. It's an amazing venue overlooking the Ottawa River and Parliament buildings. It's at the Museum of History, Canadian Museum of History. And if we can just look at the other corner on the left, bottom left, that is where we're going to have our closing ceremony. Again, just an amazing venue overlooking the city. So that's about all I wanted to talk to you about. And I really, really hope that we can host a great event for you. All the dates are coming up. As you know, Podium is a very professional organization and they're keeping us right on track. We've already secured one of our, our number one keynote speaker. His name is David Moore. He's got tens of thousands of references with respect to methodology and bias in research, and he's absolutely an incredible speaker. And we've already sent out our feelers to the other and our invitations to the other speakers. So we really look forward to welcoming you here in person in Ottawa, the nation's capital, Canada's meeting place. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. On a personal note, I think the very first meeting that I attended as a graduate student was in NACOB in Calgary, long time ago. So I do love NACOBs as well too. Great opportunity also to see even more people, because since we have withdrawals from seeing people, maybe just bringing all the Canadians as well too with the Americans, that will be even more fun. Anyway, and again, closing, I want to thank every single soul that is on the executive board, organized the meeting, presented. You didn't hear from communications as well too, but Bill also did a great job in terms of transitioning our newsletter from the good old format to a new format that will actually be in a blog type of a situation, working with Podium. TJ as well too, he worked very hard in terms of the website, bringing the website actually up to speed with Podium and enhancing new capabilities in terms of our website. So communication changed a lot. Shrikant is coming in to take the place of TJ and do all kind of like wonderful things with social media as well too. Kara is also coming to replace Bill in terms of the newsletter blogging, and so we had like few additional things that I guess we weren't mentioned in this report. But as you see from all the reports that you got from the executive board, we did an immense amount of work this year. A lot of advancements, a lot of initiatives, a lot of things got done. So we didn't let the pandemic actually stop us a single bit. We took it in stride, and this is what we are. We are biomechanics. So with this, I am going to do the official act of my presidency, which is the passing of the gravel. So I'm virtually passing the gravel, pop, okay, to Liz. And Liz now is officially our president. So she is taking it along. And Liz, is you gonna get this via via mail, of course, as I got it as well too from Michelle.
Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate getting the gavel. That was amazing, but via the post office, it kind of got changed slightly, but hopefully it'll come back to the wooden version in the future. But it's got also the new logo on the base of that, but I appreciate it. Okay, so am I supposed to talk about my stuff, or are you supposed?
I guess I missed the slide. Yeah, I mean, that's what the virtual meeting is all about, just to make mistakes. Well, I was supposed to introduce Liz actually before she will actually pass here the gravel. So anyway, so our next actually president is a superb individual, extremely accomplished. You see all her titles here. Very importantly, actually, she is also a fellow of the ASB, just signifying actually the amount of experience that she's bringing on the board as well too. So she's also a fellow of the ASME as well too. She's a truly outstanding individual, and we already had her on the board for a year as a president-elect, and her contributions is tremendous. Her organizational skills, her attunement. So we are like in great hands as well too with Liz, and then with Rocky coming after her. So that, I guess, Liz, that's my introduction before the gravel.
Yeah, it's the Nick and Liz show. Yay! You guys are all in good hands with us. Don't worry about it. Okay, so Julia, can you advance the slides? I have one very jam-packed slide for starting out with major thank yous. Thanks so much to Nick and Michelle for their leadership, and Michelle's leadership for the last 2 years, and Nick's for the last, Michelle for 3 years and Nick for 2 years. Michelle is just telling me how happy she is to be rolling off of the presidential line. Also, as you just saw, we have an outstanding executive board. The XB this year has done amazing, great things. Nick has been pushing them along to keep up their initiatives. And also we had a great number of people and all the different committees doing a lot of very hard work, and thanks to everybody. As you all thanked him already, is Young-hee and the Atlanta crew for hosting yet again an outstanding virtual conference, and Elena for a terrific technical program that just, I had like no time to eat or break, but it was great science, great communication, still loving to be able to talk to all of you, even virtually. And our new partners podium, you'll continue to see their impact on us. We've got a new website that you probably have all seen, and we're going to be doing new communications with them and ways to make our society better. And thanks to Nick and Michelle for really pushing us to get out of just being our own grassroots little homeschool thing and moving forward into the advanced world of being a major professional society in the world. Also want to mark your calendars. The World Congress of Biomechanics is going to be in Taipei, Taiwan in July. Abstracts are due in November, so take a look at that. So in July, go to Taiwan, and in August, go to Canada. Great opportunity. Hopefully we'll all be traveling all over the place. Regarding some of my initiatives of what I'm hoping to do, what my platform was when I ran was to increase and support the low social and ethnic and ability status diversity that we have in terms of our attendees, our presenters, our membership, and also test participants in biomechanics research. I know we want to do this to better represent the diversity of the American population. So I've been talking to a lot of people this meeting about trying to increase our activities, our practices, and our policies to help enact some of these. I know Paul DeVita now has a new idea for National Biomechanics Day next year, really focusing on people with disabilities and bringing them in and increasing the number of biomechanists in that area. And our affinity groups have been taking off, and it's been amazing what the different affinity groups that we've had this last year. I guess sitting at your home, you've been able to figure out a lot of really cool things and get together. I also like to try to reach out more to our minority serving institutions to bring them to highlight the possibility of research collaborations with a number of faculty. We know that, for example, the federal agencies in their funding really love to see collaborative efforts. So maybe if we can get a nice repository and collaborations filled up on that. The other thing that I was working on as the president-elect was working with the affinity groups, now that we have so many of them, to really establish what is ASB's position and their support. What will be our support of these affinity groups. And finally, as Ajit mentioned last night, during the Women in Science session, it was really brought up of what's the impact of COVID on both students and faculty and their research progress, and is it possible for ASB to help out and make sort of a national statement that may help some of these people. Okay, so with that, those are my main initiatives. Yes, there's one more slide. So please, Julie, is there one more slide? Please remember to go to Spatial Chat to mingle with others right after this in the closing reception. I look forward to seeing all of you, hopefully in person, during the joint ASB CSB meeting at NACOB in Ottawa. In the meantime, please stay safe and healthy. And so with that, I now close the 2021 45th annual meeting of the American Society of Biomechanics. Thanks. See you guys. Bye-bye.